Hi guys, welcome to Nature's Wisdom. I'm Hannah and this is episode 4. So we're going to talk about an herbal highlight today. We're going to talk about hawthorn berry, one of my favorite herbs when it comes to nourishing the physical heart as well as the emotional heart. So if you have not already listened to episode 2, where I go over herbal energetics, herbal actions, things like that, now would be a good time to go and listen to that, or when you get a chance sometime, because that is going to give you a really good foundation into herbalism. And whenever I mention things like tonics, diuretics, you're going to know what I mean by that. So if you get a chance, go back and listen to episode 2. And that way you're going to know from now on a little bit more into herbalism and what these terms mean. So let's dive right in and start talking about hawthorn, the heart tonic. So this herb is native to the Mediterranean regions. It's like a tree/shrub, and it produces these beautiful white clusters of flowers, probably about like early summer. And then it's followed with that deep berry that we're going to be talking about today. And that usually comes on the bush at about August to September, and that's when they're harvested. So this tree, it's interesting, like folklore says that this tree was formerly regarded as a sacred tree because people thought that this was actually used for the crown of thorns that was placed on Jesus's head during the crucifixion. So it's kind of cool that there was like this sacredness to this tree. This plant also gave the Mayflower its name from the white flowers that bloom on the bush every year. So it grows in the woodlands throughout North America as well. It's a really hardy bush, and a lot of people will use it like ornamentally and use it in their lawns as a hedge, and then have those really pretty flowers that grow in their yard. So getting into the actions of the herb, and this is where the terms kind of come in with herbalism. The actions that hawthorn gives on the body are a cardiotonic. So that is going to be something that nourishes the physical heart. So when you think about the cardiovascular system, it's actually going to support the actual muscle of the heart, as well as the arteries and the veins and everything that really comes into play with your heart and the blood vessels. It's also a diuretic, which that is just going to reduce excess fluid that is accumulating on the body, and it really helps to nourish the kidneys and the bladder. So if you have excess pooling or fluid retention in your limbs, something like hawthorn might be a good option for you. It's also astringent. So that means it's going to be a tightening herb. And if you taste hawthorn, it's slightly sour, so it's going to be a little bit like puckering in your mouth. So that is that astringency coming in, where it's just really going to help with tightening any loose tissues. It's going to help with things like leaky gut, tissues that really need to be tightened and toned. It's also hypotensive. So what that means is it's going to work on your blood pressure. Specifically, if you have high blood pressure, more regulating, and it's going to bring that down to more of a normal blood pressure. The parts used, we already kind of went over this, but the berries and also the flowers are used, but we're going to be talking about the berries today specifically. The organ affinity, or what body systems this herb affects, of course, the heart. And then we have the spleen, the stomach, and the liver. The flavors of the berries are going to be sweet and sour. So if you've watched or listened to episode 2, you know that flavors tell us a lot about an herb and what it does for the body. So sweet flavors and herbs are going to be really building and nutritive. And then that sour is going to be working on the digestive system. It's going to be kind of puckering in your mouth and working on the liver and the gallbladder. And then the energetics of this herb, or what it does in the body, is it has a warming effect. So this is going to be good for somebody who's has really like more cold symptoms, maybe a lack of circulation, maybe cold hands and cold feet, more congestion or stagnation in the body. Also, herbalists are using this medicinally for the heart and other things, but the berries are used to make jellies and marmalades too, which is really, really cool. I think at some point I will record a video, maybe on Instagram or Facebook, and do a recipe made with hawthorn berries to make a syrup. So a little bit more about the heart toning aspect of this herb. It's going to bring improvement for the coronary circulation. So something that we have to realize is that the heart has its own circulatory system that supplies blood to the heart, right? So if that blood flow is cut off or there's any blockages, that's whenever that heart attack occurs. So, hawthorn is actually really nourishing and supportive to those coronary arteries that supply our heart. It helps to slightly dilate those arteries so there's better blood flow and increases circulation. Let's see. Traditionally, hawthorn is used to directly nourish the muscle cells of the heart as well. And that's all about that toning action that we talked about before. Any toning herb is going to either benefit a specific body system or organ, as hawthorn is really directed towards the heart, or the total body. So this hawthorn being a cardiotonic. Hawthorn is also really gentle. It's not going to be really stimulating. So this herb traditionally is used gently and over time to benefit somebody who has maybe a weakened heart or needs support in that area. It's not going to be something that you're going to see drastic results with a couple of doses or anything. You want to take this over time because this is a very gentle and building herb. It also helps to speed up recovery if someone has had a heart attack. So this would just be a good herb to work to support that person after they've had medical intervention. This is a good time to talk about that whenever we're talking about any sort of herb, it's always a good idea to talk to your practitioner so they will know exactly what may be good for you in your certain specific condition or situation. I unfortunately don't know what's going to benefit you, so you do need to talk to your practitioner whenever you are introducing any herb, especially if somebody has a heart condition as well. It also helps to hawthorn for preventing hardening in our artery. So like I said, it's really nourishing to not only the heart, but any sort of area in the body. And of course, this goes to say this one herb is not going to be a miracle herb. It's not going to be something that fixes everything, but it's going to be something that you can use if it is indicated and safe for your situation to work to support you in that way. Now, obviously, there's other things that we can do to support our hearts, but in the herbal realm, this is one of those things that you can use in conjunction to your other protocols. Again, it's not going to prevent heart disease because lifestyle plays a big role and nutrition is also a big part of that. So we can't think of it as an end-all be-all herb. I do also want to highlight the hypotensive action there because it really does work to normalize blood pressure. A lot of times hawthorn is in combination with other herbs for the heart, like garlic, or cayenne, things to help to boost circulation and really help with lowering blood pressure. So you'll see this in combination with a lot of herbs that are geared towards the heart. Nutrition-wise, hawthorn has a lot to offer as far as nutrients. There's B complex, vitamin C. There's a lot of antioxidants in hawthorn berry. There's potassium, sodium, silicon, phosphorus, iron, and zinc. So it's really chock full of nutrition as well. So it can be a wonderful, nourishing herb. It also has an abundance of choline, which is really interesting for a plant food, which is important for the brain and the nervous system. Choline is really important for brain development. It's important for memory, our mood, as well as muscle control and just our nervous system in general. It's very supportive of that. Now, getting into more of the energetics of this herb, because I mentioned before, it is warming to the body. This effect would balance somebody who has excess cold symptoms. So in TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, we talk a lot about hot or cold or warm or pungent, like a lot of these energetics, and that's how they describe how an herb is going to affect the body. But this is more of a warming herb, and hence think about warming as far as increasing circulation. So cold hands and cold feet, like that would be a good cardiovascular tonic or herb for somebody who has those cold symptoms like that, as well as congestion too. When somebody is really stagnant, maybe has a lot of sinus congestion, or there's congestion in the bowels, or maybe in the joints, and there's a lot of stiffness and pain, something like a warming herb is going to really help to alleviate congestion and just kind of move things through the body. So the flavors of hawthorn are sweet and sour. So the sour aspect to this herb is going to help with stimulating digestive juices. So in TCM, they use hawthorn a lot for digestive issues because of that puckering feeling, which stimulates pancreatic enzymes, stimulating your liver. It also works, any sort of sour herb is going to be good for supporting the liver and supporting your gallbladder and things like that. So that astringent side can also help to with excess fluids in the body, such as like having diarrhea, things that need to like really dry up or tighten tissues that are loose. So that astringency of this herb could really help with that. The sweet aspect to these berries, like I already mentioned, it really works to build the body, and it really works to nourish, especially the heart. It's building our overall vitality and our essence. It's also gently building for the blood, which is really neat. So think about like anemia, lack of circulation, a sluggish feeling, like low energy, building energy reserves. This hawthorn berry is really going to help with that blood building aspect. So something that I want to mention too is that hawthorn not only works on the physical side of our heart, it's also working on the emotional side of our heart, which is really, really cool. So a little bit behind that and why this happens is in TCM, different meridians, which are just energy channels in the body, they are connected to two different organ systems. So in this case, the heart meridian, if we're talking about the heart, is connected with the small intestines. They have a very back and forth relationship. One affects the other. And you can really connect the dots here if we think about this. Whenever we experience on the emotional level something that hurts our heart, right? A heartache, heartbreak, some tragedy, our digestive system or small intestine is directly affected whenever we have had this tragedy that happened. So a lot of times people will experience like really low appetite, upset stomach, or diarrhea, just whenever you have that heartache or heartbreak that directly affects your small intestine. So that's just a really good example. We can talk about other things too, but there's a close relationship between those two. In TCM, the heart expresses an upward and outward movement. So what I mean by that is whenever we have a nourished heart emotionally, which Hawthorn can help with that, we are expressing our thoughts, our words, our ideas, joy, laughter. So the energy and the movement of our emotional heart is really outward expression a lot of times. It's like having fun with friends, like socializing, joy, laughter. A lot of that is coming from the heart meridian, especially if we have a balanced and a nourished heart meridian. And then the small intestine, which is connected right on that meridian pathway, expresses a downward movement, such as whenever we are moving our food downward and digesting and assimilating our food, it's more of a downward movement or downward energy. So that's just a little bit of a difference between the two. Another reason why we can use Hawthorn to nourish our heart meridian with not liver tonics, but heart tonics like Hawthorn, is because it governs our vital energy. Okay. So if we have an imbalance in our heart meridian, we're going to be feeling truly alive, full of energy. Like you almost can see that like sparkle in your eye type of thing. You can see whenever somebody is just full of joy and full of life, like it comes out on the outside. It's that feeling of being settled, whole, and able to even stay connected and present whenever someone's talking with you, like eye contact, all of those things. Having a balanced or nourished heart meridian, that is going to affect all of those things. And that's what a real balanced meridian will look like. Our emotions will be more stable. And we can have a deeper connection with others and be at more peace, in our hearts and with ourselves. So I love that Hawthorn has that aspect that it's nourishing the physical heart. It's nourishing our heart, nourishing our cardiovascular system, our blood vessels, helping with high blood pressure, things like that. But it has this other side that's actually nourishing that meridian pathway that is connected with our vital energy, life, love, laughter, joy, everything that's coming from our emotional heart. It's also a remedy for that. Like, it's so amazing that herbs can be used on the emotional level just as much as the physical level. So how to use this herb, right? You can use the dried berries to make a tea. You can make a concentrated herbal tincture, which would be an extract, which is a lot stronger than a tea. It's going to be extracted through vodka, where that will sit for about 2 weeks, and then you would strain out the herbs and then use it in dropper form. The tea would be another good way to do it, but you're going to be drinking more of that tea to get that medicinal effect. And then again, we talked a little bit about the hawthorn berry syrup that you can make as well. So I would like to do a video about making a hawthorn berry syrup that you can put on your food and pancakes and put in oatmeal, things like that, as well as just take by the spoonful for a medicinal food dose of hawthorn. So that really concludes what I wanted to talk about as far as hawthorn goes. I want to put some links in the show notes where I talk about good resources for the herb, organically grown hawthorn, where you can get that for yourself and really experiment with hawthorn in nourishing any physical symptoms with the heart, as well as the emotional heart and all the aspects that come along with that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast episode today. I want to do more of these herbal highlights. It's just something that really helps us to dive deep into one particular plant and shows us what it's good for and how it can really be incorporated in our daily lives. So I hope this was fun for you, and stay tuned for more episodes soon.